Welcome back to a tag of the show, Tokyo 06. We are TV's only source for all the stuff you care about. Today, we just happen to be in Shinjuku.
Yeah, now every minute we spend here just makes us that much weirder. This district is kind of like a cross between Blade Runner and Las Vegas, except for all the cars are on the other side of the street.
I still don't understand that.
I don't get it either. Now, a lot of people are drawn to Japan. It's got history, it's got technology, giant snow-capped volcanoes. You gotta love that.
You're forgetting that it's the home of Nintendo.
That's right.
And with the Wii revolution about to happen any minute now, there's been some very strange Nintendo happenings around here that I think it's safe to say that they're uniquely Japanese. This is not what I was expecting to see.
Earlier in the show, we asked you, does Japanese horror scare the crap out of American horror? Well, the Yorai who haunt our Japanese hotel rooms have spoken, and 54% of you think that American horror movies are scarier. Well, let's go on over to Kevin, who's ready to spew blood all over those Japanese horror movies.
Thanks, Olivia. Now, films like The Ring and The Grudge and Pulse, they become major players in the States, and it seems like J-horror has taken off. Now, its origins draw from Japanese mythology and ghost stories that are ages old, and with such rich history to draw from, is J-horror going anywhere? It's time to get to the bottom of it. Are The Rings and The Grudges any better than our own Freddy's and Jason's? Scream at the top of your lungs, folks, because it's The Loop. Joining me now in the streets of Tokyo is Andreas Bergen, writer and correspondent for Anime Insider and Geek Monthly. Andreas, welcome.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks for joining us. Tell me, what's the main difference between American horror and J-horror, or Japanese horror?
Wow, good question. I think Japanese horror is a really good reflection of Japanese culture in many ways. American horror is all about special effects.
Right.
Shocking
Chainsaw to the face,
Chainsaw
fountain
to the
of blood.
face, fingers off.
I think that's our culture at some point.
Yeah,
But how has Japanese culture influenced horror films here?
Well, I think that Japanese culture subliminally influences the movies. I mean, Japanese people are really polite, really nice. But when you watch the horror films, they're really grotesque and quite psychologically scarring, I find. And I think that goes back to maybe World War II. You know, Tokyo was annihilated. Every single Godzilla movie, Tokyo's destroyed.
How did the Japanese audiences react to like traditional American horror, the slasher films, the Friday the 13th, etc.? Do those get them riled up here at all?
Well, no Japanese person I know watches those movies. I mean, sometimes they might, but they don't seem particularly scared by them. It's culturally quite different. I think they just find them kind of boring.
Now, it seems like within the last, I'd say, 5-10 years or so, Japanese horror has really influenced American horror films. But can you attribute that to anything? Do you have any idea why that's happening?
Maybe because they're new. I mean, we all got sick and tired of, Jason number 28. I mean, you get to a point where you're like, where can you go with this kind of genre? And Japanese horror movies, because they are so psychological, because they act on a really subconscious level. I think that's a bit more exciting, a bit more interesting, a bit more new.
Now, why is it always a creepy schoolgirl or some creepy girl in general? What's the deal with that?
Japan is a very patriarchal society in many ways, and you know, women are cute in Japan. So a cute girl being this psycho stalker who kills people is completely the opposite of what
And
you
very
expect.
common in America as well, if you date off MySpace.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What are some of the biggest Japanese horror films to come out recently?
The Ring series, of course, by Hideo Nakata. Then you've got, Ju-on, which was made as The Grudge in America. There was Reincarnation last year by the same director of Ju-on. And there's a new one coming out, which kind of sounds interesting. It's called Yagi, which is goat in English, and it's directed by, what's her name? Saori Nakagawa. It's a female director, but it sounds really interesting, about a goat that possesses people and makes them crazy. So,
All right, now with things like The Ring and Grudge, you know, you see these American adaptations of these films. Have you seen the two? Do you know what the differences are? How do they feel?
Yeah, I've seen both. For me, the Japanese ones are genuinely scary. And then after that, I've watched the American versions, and to be honest, I'm kind of bored. I think they're a bit homogenized. You know, they're taking some of the original ideas, but they're not really going all the way.
Andreas, thank you so much, man. We'll keep an eye out
Thank you
for
very
that
much.
one. Folks, it's time to go to Olivia.
Thanks, Kev. Now take note, horror movie fans. G4 has a special Halloween treat planned for you. We will be broadcasting from the home of Mark and Mike, the horror-obsessed stars of American Movie, as they give you a special screening of Night of the Living Dead. Mark and Mike will be giving us their unique take on the horror genre, and also with a exclusive commentary on the film. They're also going to take us on a tour of their very own haunted house. The frights start Halloween night at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on G4. There is still plenty more Attack of the Show from Tokyo. Stay with us.
Want to show off your musical talent? Zach takes in Yoyogi Park.